forgive us. The Archbishop of Canterbury has spoken out on the subject of climate change. He said climate change, better called the climate crisis, or better still the climate emergency as we know, is the result of wealthier countries having declared war on God's creation, unknowingly, unthinkingly, starting from the 19th century. So there you go. It's all our fault. It's all our fault. And we here in the UK will have to pay the price. Don't worry about China, India, Brazil or the US. Nothing to see here. Now, I want to look after the planet and hand it to the next generation in a better state than we found it. Who doesn't want clean, sustainable energy and less polluted air? But I'm afraid that all we've had on this from the ever-political Archbishop is hot air. It's green levies on fuel and a 3-decade focus on so-called renewables, which mean that the poor, about whom the Archbishop claims to worry so much, may face bills of up to £4,000 next year just to heat and power their homes. Where's the empathy now, Archbishop? And it's the ideological focus on carbon emissions at the expense of any realistic, sensible, long-term energy strategy or thought for the economy, which is now at the root of so much suffering in this country and across the Western world. Go woke, no smoke. We listened to the green zealots of whom the Archbishop is so supportive by not ordering nuclear power stations and by ignoring the God-given resources that lie beneath our feet. 50 years of gas, 100 years of coal, 20 years of shale gas. The good Lord has granted us these gifts, which we have spurned. More fool us. And why didn't Welby speak out about lockdowns, which have created so many mental health issues, which have led to what could ultimately be a 12 million long NHS waiting list and which have smashed the economy and destroyed people's livelihoods? Find me a single quote from this man, the Archbishop of Canterbury, about the madness of lockdowns, given that he's got an opinion on so much else. And ask him why the Church of England closed their doors in the course of the pandemic. People struggling, people isolated, people in need. Parishioners who were desperate for support from the church, who wanted to pray together or mourn lost loved ones, were cruelly exiled. I don't remember Welby begging the government to let him fling open the doors of churches. Remember, places of worship, gyms, swimming pools, children's playgrounds and GP surgeries were chained shut, whilst supermarkets, pubs and fast food outlets remained open. Go figure. During the pandemic, the Church of England turned its back on parishioners at a time when it was needed most. May God forgive them. Welby also doesn't like the Rwanda plan to process asylum applications abroad. Not a squeak of humble acknowledgement from him when, thanks to the Mail on Sunday last weekend, it emerged that in June and July of this year, 40% of said individuals entering the country illegally were from Albania, a country that hasn't seen conflict in a quarter of a century. It's more peaceful than the bloody Galapagos Islands. The Rwanda policy, whilst not perfect, and who knows if it will work, is an attempt at least to end human trafficking and an evil business model in which gangsters send hopeful young people on a perilous journey. The old Archbishop seems to be supportive of that because that's why he blocks every plan to break this business model. May God forgive him. Lockdowns, climate change, Britain's borders, the Church of England have taken an explicitly political view on all of the above. And what's worse, in my view, is that they've made the wrong call. Debatable green policies are diminishing and damaging lives. Lockdowns diminished and damaged lives. And many more will perish until the cruel business model of people trafficking across the English Channel is stopped. The Archbishop should take a leaf out of the Queen's book and stay out of politics. But like Prince Charles, William and Harry, he's another unelected member of the elite who just can't help himself. I'm afraid, like so many of our great institutions, the Church of England have been drinking the woke Kool-Aid. And England's official church isn't even a home for spiritual ideas or diversity anymore. It was the Church of England who refused the ordination of Calvin Robinson, a deeply spiritual man and a huge star here at GBNews. Calvin was refused ordination because of his traditional conservative opinions. Not really a broad church, is it? The idea of woke political correctness in the Church of England reached its nadir when a white minister, the Bishop of London, Sarah Mullally, decided to explain to Calvin Robinson, a man of mixed race heritage, all about racism. It's what I call white-splaining, and it's in the woke playbook. Mulally went Doolally, a smug white woman explaining racism to a black man. How very 2022. And refusing him entry as a serving cleric for having the wrong opinions. Welcome to the modern, new look, plant-based Church of England 2.0. Illiberal, heartless, and its doors closed to those who don't follow the hellish new scripture of wokeism. Take my word for it, God ain't woke. Ironically, the Church of England has spent the last 4 years on a massive book project called Living in Love and Faith. How's that working out for you? Well, in the end, Calvin took his business elsewhere and is now serving with the Global Anglicans Future Conference, who don't cancel those who wish to serve God and share God's message. I'm pretty sure that Calvin's sermons will make for far better listening than those from the pious and increasingly political Justin Welby. Forgive me if I hide under my cassock next time he opens his mouth.